Hi, John. You're still muted, my friend.
That's not going to be helpful.
It's not. How are you?
To be very, very difficult.
They are really going to be focused on my powerful questions if you are muted. How are you today?
I'm doing well, thanks. Yeah,
Good. Well, what kind of a day is it?
it's a good day. Yeah, nice and warm. Got some exercise this morning. Swam in the pool. Then had a busy afternoon. So had kind of a playful morning and a busy afternoon. So it's good.
Great. Well, what can we be coaching on today?
What I'd like to focus on is expanding some of the work that I do for the North Carolina Synod. I think you may be aware of the Lilly Grant that we received in North Carolina. Are you familiar with that? Have I talked with you about that before?
I've heard a little bit, but tell me what you're focusing on.
So we've got, over the course of 6 years, we received $500,000 and had to raise $750,000 in matching funds and use that to address the economic challenges that face rostered leaders. First 3 years, we did that in North Carolina. And we had a chance to get another grant and either keep on doing what we did in phase 1 in North Carolina and just sustain that efforts. And we would have gotten only $250,000 the second 3 years, or we could have scaled it. Well, we decided to scale it in phase 2. So we've included the other synods in Region 9 in our work in phase 2, which is last year, this year, and next year. That's the 3 years of the grant. But so in this work that Lilly has done, they've involved 4 synods out of the 65 in the ELCA in this work, which we've been the incredible recipients of this grace that comes from God through Lilly. And it is such a blessing. It's made a huge difference in the lives of our rostered leaders. But Lilly also says that this initiative that they began with 4 synods of the ELCA and several other denominations has the potential to reach 80% of congregations in the country, 80% of Christian congregations in the country, all denominations. Well, that's not going to happen if there's only 4 Lutheran synods involved in this, or even the new 4 synods that we've involved. So here's the challenge that I want to accept for myself in the last 2 years of this grant, last year and a half of this grant. And that is, how can I, as the program director for this fund, expand this work and invite other synods to be a part of this work, even though they're not going to get grants? How can they get engaged in alleviating the incredible burden that education debt places on rostered ministers, and the way that hampers ministries and inhibits pastors from being good steward leaders in their congregations? I mean, the impact of that debt is huge in some cases. And all synods in the ELCA have this issue, have this challenge that they're facing. We've been blessed in North Carolina. It's not good enough to take that blessing and work only even just in Region 8. How can we expand that? Kind of reflecting on the passage that we read for devotions today. You know, how can we be examples of the incredible wealth of God that has come to us through Lilly? How can we pass that on? So I think it's a challenge for us in North Carolina, for me in particular, to take this work that we've been doing and encourage and invite other synods to get involved in this, so that they can be a part of the solution to incredible challenge our rostered ministers face.
What a beautiful challenge. And I can't think of anyone better suited to it than your willing heart.
I appreciate confidence.
There's a lot. There is a lot that can come alongside that. What would be most helpful for you to accomplish today to start on that, getting to that goal?
So the challenge seems to be so big. How do you get into the offices of the bishops and those other synods? How do you begin those conversations? How do you do that? So it's a mammoth problem. It's a huge problem to me. But I can say that this class has opened that door for me a little bit, and that one of the students in this class is working in another synod. When she heard that I worked for the Lifeline Fund, she asked me, how could we get involved in that? And so I actually spoke to her congregation council. I spoke to her bishop with her permission, and they're interested. So that showed me that there's the possibility. So I want to take this problem that seems to be so huge right now for me, so mammoth, and I want to come up with several ideas that I could. In a brainstorming kind of session that I might take forward, and also think about who else could be partners in this work. So there's lots of possibilities there. But I think the main thing is to take this huge problem and start breaking it down into smaller pieces that I can begin tackling and moving things forward.
Great. And so am I here?
By saying that.
So am I hearing correctly that so for today, what you'd like is to brainstorm a list?
Yeah, and I think I want to have some confidence too. I mean, sometimes brainstorming ideas aren't, some of them are just wild and crazy ideas. I'd like to maybe narrow that list down into things that I have some kind of confidence might bear fruit for this effort.
Okay. And so what would success look like at the end?
Success would look like a couple of different pathways that are plausible and where I think there might be some potential fruit that could be born from those.
Okay, well, let's dig in. So John, how would you like to, what are some ways you'd like to gain access to some of these people and have those conversations you've been talking about?
I think there's a number of different doors that can be opened, but the ones I'm thinking about now are all at the synod office. So one is to have a conversation with someone in the bishop's office, maybe the bishop herself or himself. Maybe someone in the bishop's staff. I think that would be one approach. So looking for a way to contact the bishops and their assistants. I think another approach, and this is also probably a bishop's assistant, is to contact someone in candidacy committees of our synod staff. If we can attack this problem before it's created, and if candidacy committees can work with candidates before they assume huge amounts of debt or consider the impact of that, I think that would be helpful also.
Who else?
I think maybe seminaries might be another place where we can maybe open up conversations about this. I think one of the things we've learned in North Carolina is that the presence of our bishop and his engagement with the work that we've done has proved to be absolutely critical to whatever success we've seen so far. His support, his encouragement, his involvement, his engagement, his participation in this project, I think has been a key to the success. So I'm thinking that maybe another possibility is to ask our bishop, and maybe even to invite him to have conversation with the other 3 bishops who've received the grants, and encourage them to have conversation with a conference of bishops. So maybe that might be another approach for him to do a presentation to the Conference of Bishops on the nature of the problem, the challenge, and what possibilities can be done. I also know that there are 3 other synods, at least 3 other synods, who have done this work without the benefit of a Lilly Grant. The New England Synod has done this, Eastern North Dakota has done this, and the Synod in Northern Michigan has done something as well. And none of those have had a grant. So I think that our bishop could perhaps convene a group of those bishops and have them come together and offer maybe a space on the agenda of the Conference of Bishops work that they do together, and have them present this case, and maybe open the door for maybe a group of those interested bishops who are interested to talk about it, to come together at another meeting and discuss this more fully. I think that to deal with this issue at a Conference of Bishops, I probably expected a little bit too muggone, although it should be the most important thing on the list, shouldn't it?
It's important work, to be sure, but I was going to note that that's not something that you do, that you're kind of signing someone else up to do. So,
What we mean the Conference of Bishops?
Yeah. So your part into that is talking to your bishop.
Yeah, that would be my role, and I think that's probably I think that's probably a more fruitful way to get to this, is to get to the other bishops, to open up conversations, to open up the possibilities, than for, this podunk pastor from North Carolina just saying, hey, give me some time on your agenda. It's going to have more power, I think, if it comes from him, and maybe the team of other bishops who together could present the issue. And I think my role could be to provide the presentation or provide a skeleton presentation that could be used by the bishop at that gathering. We had planned on doing a presentation at the Conference on Ministry last August, and I was really excited about that, because that would have had great exposure to lots of folks from all over the church. But that conference was canceled, and I don't think that there's another one scheduled before this work is done for us. So
good. What other pathways?
Yeah, here's where you're inviting me to dig a little bit deeper. I like that. We have the ELCA has received a grant from Lilly as well in this same initiative. Their focus is a little bit different. They produced a tool called Resourceful Servants. They provide some retirement benefits, additional retirement benefits and stuff like that. So I think that might be another possible approach to speak to. His name is Adam DeHook in the ELCA office, and speak with Adam. In fact, we normally meet quarterly as recipients of the grant. Adam normally convenes those meetings, but I could talk with Adam in particular, and then the other idea that just emerged from that is to maybe have a conversation with those in one of those quarterly meetings with others, and see what ideas they might have, and to see how interested they might be in partnering in this effort. If it's just one person doing this, there's only so much that's going to get done. But if we have 8, 10, 12, and maybe a team of bishops who are involved in this, that gets to be a pretty critical mass, I think.
Mhm.
And as I think about that, that seems to me to be a key insight, having that critical mass. So these conversations with Adam and then with the team of other recipients, grant recipients, could be really helpful to kind of establish a critical mass of interested folks who might be engaged in this. Of course, I don't know if everyone else shares the vision, shares the dream, but I won't know until I ask, right?
Right, right. Well, as you know, we have a limited time today. So you've got a lot of great pathways here. As you think about those, which ones seem to be the most fruitful?
Yeah, I think the most fruitful ones are the conversation with our bishop and possibly talk about him convening a group and working in concert with him on developing a presentation that could be made to the bishops, inviting them into another conversation if they want to explore it further. I think that holds, I think, lots of potential. I think the second one is the group that Adam convenes of the other grant recipients for this Lilly Grant, and putting this on the agenda and doing some work, some thinking out loud about how we might pursue this as well and what kind of contexts there might be made. Yeah, those are the two that are kind of floating to the top for me of what we've come up with so far.
Great. And if you had to think of what the next best step would be, especially on that first one of asking the North Carolina bishop to work alongside you in this, what would your next step be?
I think that I can call him probably within the next week and have a conversation with him about his interest in doing something like this, and what his thoughts were, and what kind of support he would need from me, what kind of help he would need from me to do this. And then the second thing would be to contact Adam for the same reason. I mean, we're kind of playing the Google poll trick right now to schedule our next meeting. We can't just cancel one because nobody could attend it. No, we couldn't find a common time. So this would be a good time, I think, to contact Adam and say, could we put this on our agenda and have a conversation about it, to see the level of interest that others might have in doing so. Failing those, if those two efforts fail, I think the next best thing is to just make contact with folks that I know already who are serving in bishops' offices, either the DEMs that I worked with when I was a DEM, or folks that I know that are doing this, or classmates, or such like that, and see if there's an interest. I was surprised when Bishop Maz was so interested. It was a cold call, really. Well, not really. This individual in the Synod made the introduction for me.
Yeah. You have lots of friends, John.
and then it was just a very welcomed reception of the idea, and I think there might be some good things. So I think that if those other two approaches fail, I think then I go back to just working the people that I know.
Okay. Well, we are out of time, John. How did we do?
I think you did great.
Did we get some?
I feel, as I said when it came, this huge problem just seems to be so big, and in its massive size, I seem paralyzed, but I now experience some freedom, I think, in having at least 3 good ideas that I can take forward and do something with. So we have a steering committee that meets on Thursday that oversee this whole grant. So I'm responsible to report to them, and I think I'll make this presentation, get ideas from them as well.
Great.
So thank you.
Great. You are welcome. Thanks for sharing your dreams with me on this project.